If you're listening to this story, never pick up, and especially don't bring home any suspicious antique items. Never. It can lead to irreparable consequences. Take my word for it. I've suffered this misfortune myself, and now I'm trying to warn you through my story about the nightmare that can dwell within such things. To clarify the whole picture, let me tell you a bit about myself. I lived with my son in a small apartment in an old brownstone building. We used to live in my ex-wife's place, but we divorced. Sarah took everything. She drank like a fish, especially after my mother's death. I understand the grief, but yes, to drink to forget a little and eventually start living the previous life again, but no, this wasn't that case. Initially, I let it slide because I saw she was really having a rough time, but then, it turned into alcoholism. Sarah became a menace, started beating our son while I was at work. My son complained, but she wouldn't listen to any of my remarks and would snap and attack me like a madwoman. It was no longer my wife I was seeing. Before my eyes, a person was going insane. To protect my son, I had to sue and leave her. They stripped her of parental rights. I don't know what's happening with her now, nor do I want to. That person is gone from me. She was there and then she wasn't. Actually, there were a lot of nuances, but I've briefly told you everything to avoid unnecessary questions. So I rented a small apartment on the other side of town. A kind old lady whom I told about my situation rented it to us. She even reduced the rent by a couple $100. The apartment was nice, fully retro style, but thankfully it didn't reek of deceased grandmothers or anything nasty. Everything was clean and tidy. A basement came with the apartment. The grandmother, such a kind soul, said, "You kids, if you want some treats, there's a key hanging on a nail near the door. It's for the basement. There are preserves down there, pickles, tomatoes, various jams that my daughter canned last year. I can't go down there anymore. I'm too old, but you guys are young. You understand? Here are the keys. A neighbor from the 3rd floor will come for the money." And with that, I went to visit my sister. I was sitting here so the apartment wouldn't stay empty. Take care of it, it's my home. And with that, she took a small bag under her arm and left the building. I closed the squeaky wooden door behind her, having paid her in advance. Now it's time to move my stuff from the old apartment and settle in. Oh yes, I didn't mention one detail. My son is still young, just turned 7 recently. His name is Danny. I clarified this so you'll understand everything later. So we moved all our stuff, which wasn't much. I called an Uber and we headed to our new home. You know, it might sound strange, but I even liked the design of the apartment. This old, good atmosphere of the 70s created some kind of coziness. The bad part was that the only amenities were an old gas stove and a similarly old washing machine, shaped like a barrel with manual rollers for wringing out clothes. Apparently no microwaves, no vacuum cleaners, not even an iron, although no, there was an iron, just a heavy metal one that needs to be heated on the stove. Ah yes, I forgot, there was an old TV in the living room. For such money, you can make do. Thankfully, I had my laptop. You just have to call the internet provider tomorrow to at least get connected. Danny liked it here. It was evident from his happy eyes. It was already getting dark and we were hungry. Everything was fine, but the fridge was empty. I needed to go to the store. I dressed up, dressed Danny, took the keys, and we left the apartment. The store was quite far, across 2 blocks. Well, we'd take a walk. The weather was terrible all day. The sun was scorching, and now the sky was overcast, looking like it would rain, and a fierce wind had picked up. We had to hurry. We quickened our pace as the wind cut to the bone. By the time we reached the store, I thought I would freeze solid, and the little one was cold too. I quickly bought everything we needed, and we also ran home quickly because it had started to drizzle. It took about 15 minutes to run home, and we were lucky because just as we entered the building, a heavy downpour began. "We made it," I said joyfully, taking Danny's hand. We went up the stairs. For dinner, I fried some burgers, tossed a salad, brewed coffee. We had run around quite a bit that day, and after dinner, we immediately went to bed. I couldn't fall asleep for a long time, lay there staring at the ceiling, and drove various thoughts from ideas of earning more to silly questions that are unlikely to come to a healthy, normal person's mind. After about 20 minutes, I finally fell asleep. I woke up early in the morning for some reason while Danny was still asleep. I quietly got up and went to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, washed up, and started preparing breakfast. From the sound of bacon sizzling in the pan, Danny woke up. "Good morning, son. How did you sleep?" "Well," he said, stretching. "Will you come with me to the basement to get some jam?" "I'll go, of course," Danny said cheerfully. "Then go brush your teeth, get dressed. We're going now." I fried a couple of eggs, started the coffee maker, dressed, took the keys, and we went outside. It was wet and nasty. It had probably rained all night. Under the house, we went to the basement. The door was open. I took my son by the hand. We went down the stairs. The light was on, and somewhere far away it was audible that someone was there. Our storage unit number 48 was not far from the main entrance of the basement. The door was old and closed with an equally aging lock. "Open it, Dad," Danny shouted. "Hold on. The lock seems to have started rusting. The key hardly turns." But with a sharp turn of the key, I managed to open the lock and the door itself. It seemed no one had been here for a long time. There was a 3-centimeter layer of dust everywhere, spiders and mold. In the middle of the basement stood an old bike without wheels and pedals, some tools, cans of paint, and a bunch of other old junk. To the right was a shelf with preserves. They seemed all right, needed to check. I took a jar with what seemed to be jam, found a knife right there, poked a hole, and tasted the contents with my finger. Yes, it was strawberry jam. Delicious. "Son, let's go grab some more jars. Look, what's this?" I turned and peered into the area where the little one was pointing. There lay a soft toy, a bear, plush it seemed. "Get it, Daddy," Danny jumped excitedly. I reached out and got him the bear. "Let's go now." I closed the door and locked it. In the darkness of the basement, I couldn't really see the bear, but when we came out into the light and I looked at it, I was a bit lost. The bear was somewhat creepy, dirty, and its eyes seemed to look straight into mine, too realistic for a toy. It looked older than me. We entered the apartment. "Son, do you really like it?" "Yes, Dad. Now I won't sleep with it." No, sleep is canceled until you wash it. We'll throw it in the washing machine now, and tomorrow it will dry and you can sleep with it." "All right, give it here." The son joyfully ran to the kitchen. I threw the bear into the washing machine, poured in some detergent, turned it on, and joined the coffee and jam with toast. The washing machine was terribly loud, and just as I was putting the tray and cups down, it got even louder. Then there was a pop, and it went silent. Water started flowing from the bathroom door. Damn, I jumped up. The water was black as tar. How much dirt was in this bear? Oh my God. "Son, grab a rag." I checked the washing machine. Everything seemed normal. The hose was in place. Where did all this come from? Maybe something wasn't sealed. I don't know. The main thing is that it doesn't leak to the neighbors. Then it would really be fun. In general, we spent about an hour cleaning up all this water. And I also had to mop the floor because the water, as I said, was black. I took the bear out of the machine and put it on the radiator to dry. My coffee was already cold and I didn't feel like anything all day. I spent the day at the laptop while the little one played either on my phone or with the now dried bear. To me, the bear actually seemed very strange, seriously, with eyes like those of a real bear cub. Danny called it Grizzly. Even to me, an adult guy, this Grizzly was a bit unnerving. But okay, the main thing is that the child likes it. Then I still didn't understand what this Grizzly would do next. Evening, 10 o'clock, I turned off the laptop and went to the shower. Danny followed me. He wouldn't let go of the toy at all. Did you really like that ancient plush bear? He usually likes trucks, Nerf guns, but not soft toys. At about 11, we went to bed. Danny hugged the bear and fell asleep quickly, and I had to go to work on Monday, a tough day. Outside, a downpour started again, and today I fell asleep surprisingly quickly, but my sleep didn't last long. About an hour later, it thundered outside so loudly that some car alarms in the parking lot went off, which actually woke me up. Confused, I started looking around the room, and my gaze focused on Danny's bed and on that damn bear. It seemed to be standing on its hind legs behind the sleeping boy and looking at me with its overly realistic eyes. My body, for some reason, was covered in goosebumps. I got out of bed quietly and pulled the bear from my son's arms. Disgusting toy. To not bother me, I'll put it on top of the closet. I went to the kitchen, drank some water, and returned to bed. It thundered every 5 minutes, which woke me up again. In the morning, already awake, I got out of bed and found the bear next to the sleeping boy. That is, Danny was hugging him just like in the evening when we went to bed. I rubbed my eyes. It wasn't an illusion. The bear really was in the same place and in the same position, and even lying on its side, its gaze was directed right at me. I don't know how this happens, but I felt its gaze on me. I went to the kitchen and put the kettle on. I had to prepare something and take the little one to school. The fact that I had thrown the bear on top of the closet last night and how it moved to Danny's bed was stuck in my head. Danny can't reach there, some damn thing. After preparing breakfast, I went to the room to take my son to school. The bear was looking at me again like the Mona Lisa. No matter which side I looked at it from, its gaze was on me, just like when you look at a painting and understand that it's just a painting. But here it was as if something alive was looking at me. And honestly, let's go, I felt it. In general, the time's ticking and he doesn't wake up, damn it. The bear was still looking. The tension inside me was building up. Danny, get up, school. He suddenly rolled over onto his back, and what I will never forget in my life began. He opened his eyes. They were white, without pupils. Just white eyes. Damn it. And he started to convulse in the literal sense of the word. He started shaking like crazy, waving his arms and legs, muttering something. But the damn bear didn't let go of his hands. If you knew how scared I was then. I stood as if rooted to the ground and didn't know what to do, and the bear kept looking straight into my eyes as if to say, "Look what I can do." I snatched that thing from my son's hand and everything suddenly stopped. The bath took a long time. I didn't keep the bear. It went down the garbage chute. My hands were shaking. I approached my son. He was lying with his eyes open, alive. Everything was normal. "Is everything all right with you, son? You're not going to school today?" His face stretched into a smile. "Hooray, thanks, Dad." "Where's Grizzly?" his son asked me. I woke up and he was already gone. He looked at me like I was a traitor. "Dad, where's Grizzly?" he said in a harsh voice. "Where's Grizzly?" he repeated. His voice was even harsher, as if it wasn't his. I was overwhelmed again. "I threw it out," I shouted at my son. "Why, Dad? He was my friend. Because of what was happening to you this morning." A strange feeling hit me that this was no longer my son, and it grew with each of his words. "Why did you throw him out, Dad?" He screamed, not in his own voice. I swear what that toy did to him, I've never seen anything like it in my life. "Son, calm down. Why did you throw him out? Answer me." He had never spoken to me like that before. The words were so clear, as if some adult was sitting inside him. I stood and simply didn't know what to answer or what to do at all. "Why are you shaking, Dad? Are you scared? You didn't like Grizzly from the start?" I couldn't take it anymore and grabbed the cross that was on the dresser in the room. Danny squealed in an inhuman voice. His face began to change. His eyes also rolled back like in the morning, and he began to turn pale. It was terrible. What the hell is going on? I started remembering the Lord's Prayer and muttering it to myself. The whole apartment began to shake, the dresser, the sideboard, although the dishes inside were as if there had been a small earthquake. I just stood, petrified, reciting the Lord's Prayer and holding the cross in my hands. Then it happened. He efficiently climbed the wall, damn it, how he was holding on there, to the ceiling, swung, and jumped at me. Waving the cross, the sounds didn't stop. They rattled my whole body, and we saw this thing. It wasn't my son. He jumped on me and for some reason tried to reach my face. I, not thinking for long, drove my fist into his chin, and he flew away from me about a foot and passed out, it seemed. I immediately got up, tied him to the bed with a torn sheet, and ran outside. My goal was the church. In general, I met with the priest and told him everything as it was. He, of course, agreed to help, and we followed him back to the apartment. Upon entering, my son was still lying on the bed, but his eyes were already yellow and running back and forth around the room. I've never seen a scarier sight in my life, so it's good that it was still morning. The Holy Father grabbed my hand and led me out of the apartment. Your son is not just scary, he's dangerous to everyone, not just you. You probably released it from the bear's house, but you freed it yourself. I'll tie him up tighter and come with me to the church. As soon as he said this, from the hallway, I saw that my son was again on all fours, running to the wall in our direction. He flew out of the apartment quickly, climbed the wall towards the garbage chute, opened it, and jumped down there. The priest also stood in bewilderment, not knowing what to do next, neither he nor I. After a minute, we quickly went down to the first floor. Behind the door of the garbage chute, there were some sounds. I couldn't quite make them out, but it was something like whispering and rustling of garbage bags. After standing a little, the priest said that he couldn't help. Here you need an exorcist. And where do I find this exorcist? Damn it, what to do? Suddenly I heard someone climbing up the garbage chute. I ran to the sounds quietly, stood at the pipe on my floor, and waited. About half a minute later, from the hatch of the garbage chute, my son's head itself appeared, and I thought it was him climbing out, but no. And I rushed at him, grabbed his head with both hands in the hope of pulling him out, but in the end, I fell on my ass, and in my hands was my son Danny's severed head. I was seized with horror and panic, apathy. All these feelings hit me in the head with a huge hammer. Tears poured from my eyes like streams. What's going on? Maybe it's a dream. I started slapping myself on the cheeks with my palms in the hope of waking up. But no, it wasn't a dream, it was reality, damn it. In fear and confusion, I ran back to the apartment and called 911, but upon entering the room, I almost fainted. On the sofa sits, it means, Grizzly's face already with a bloodstain. I grabbed him, tore him apart, and in a burst of emotion set him on fire right in the apartment, but it didn't burn at all. I just lit our lighter. It immediately went out. Suddenly a knock on the door. I open it. The police arrived. What happened next is clear to anyone. I was arrested on suspicion of murdering my son. His body was found in the garbage chute, and his head was lying in the hallway. The court declared me insane and sent me to a psychiatric hospital. But I know that I didn't kill anyone. I know that I'm sane. And the last thing I saw when they took me away from that apartment was Grizzly sitting on the windowsill, seeing me off with his real and alive eyes.